Okay, hello and welcome to a new video here. Today we're going to be looking at relative clauses and how to teach them. Thank you ever so much to everybody who has commented, subscribed and liked the previous grammar series videos. Again, if you've not watched last week's video, it's available. Try and click the link somewhere above there and you can see that video as well. Now, as I mentioned, we're going to be looking at relative clauses. Relative clauses being a cup of tea is something that you can drink, that a doctor is a person who works in a hospital, and you know, these sort of relative clauses. Now for me, I'm going to be sharing about what I do, my process of relative clauses and getting students aware of it. Again, a more of an implicit approach and getting them to consolidate what they've learnt right at the end. So for this video I've created a Google Jamboard so you can have a look at this in your own time. I'll be sharing all the information on my website. I need to update it because I've not updated it with the relevant other grammar series, so that will be updated soon. But I should say, before I continue with this, most of the ideas I get are from this book here, and this book's 700 Classroom Activities. It's a great book for those that are wanting to get some really interesting ideas. It's a bit historic, it's a bit dated, so there's some things that you need to modernize it with, and I tend to use it with all my general English classes. Anyway, let's get started. So as you can see on my Google Jamboard, how to teach relative clauses, and let's get started with the first step. So with this first step, what I'm usually do in the classroom is I try and get the students aware that I'm going to dictate something. Now, as you may see with the arrow here on the Jamboard, I do not show this page to students. I just keep a copy of it and I dictate, and I tell students to think about a person or a thing that represents it. So for example, a place where you can eat, and I ask the student to write down one word or a couple of words as an answer. So a place where you can eat, and I expect them to write down restaurant or kitchen, and then I go through the rest of these and students work individually, and then I get them to go together once they've completed this. So here I've got 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 12 definitions, or 12 defining, well, definitions I suppose. So I get the students to try and write down 12 different things or persons, and then they combine together with their 12 ideas and share what they've written down. So a place where you can eat, a restaurant or a kitchen, or a place where people keep their money, piggy bank, that sort of thing. The next step is I'm trying to get students to work in pairs or small groups, whatever's comfortable for you, and I get the students to write a whole sentence with the definition and the person or thing. So here, a place where you can eat, a restaurant is a place where you can eat. So I'm trying to get the students to use the relative clauses without them really realizing that they're using them, if you catch my drift. And I get them to write down 12 different definitions, full sentences, and this is when we go on to our next step. But this step here usually takes a bit of time and negotiation between the students. So let's go on to step 3. Step 3 here is more about eliciting the example sentences from students and correcting where necessary. So you could try and get the students to come up to the whiteboard and they could all write up their first example. So a place where you can eat, so they could all come up with their own ideas and write down what they think that place is. Or you could get students to submit what they've written and hand it to you in paper. If you're teaching online, I get the students to type in the chat what their example sentence is, but within a face-to-face environment you have the flexibility and the opportunity for them to physically come up to the board, write up their answer, or to give you their definitions, I suppose. The next step is really the final step into trying to consolidate what the students have learnt with relative clauses. Now, I tend to get the students to see the patterns that are occurring, so who for people, that for people or things, where for places, when for time, and that sort of thing with relative clauses. Now, once I've elicited possible patterns or recognition from the students, this is where I get to consolidate, and this is the fourth step really, I suppose. It's getting learners to consolidate their learning by completing a worksheet. And so, for example, here I've got to teach this activity on defining relative clauses as sort of practice. Now, this is good for pre-intermediate, maybe intermediate students to recognize the sort of pronoun for each, or relative pronoun for each example. But for more capable learners, and here I've got a possible extension, for more capable learners you could give them just the beginning of the sentence and they have to complete the rest of the sentence as they see fit. Now, this extension really will challenge the students when it comes down to trying to produce something on their own back, and you will not know, or you won't be able to anticipate the sort of answer that they provide. Okay, so if you liked today's video and you found it useful and interesting, then please do not hesitate to let me know in the comments. If you haven't subscribed already, hit that subscribe button and the notification bell. But in the meantime, I'll see you next week in a future video. If there's a particular grammar point that you want me to cover in a grammar teaching series video, let me know in the comments, and I take your comments and questions or ideas on board. But in the meantime, take care, stay safe, and happy teaching. Bye bye.